crowdfunding hangout with David Chan and Taylor Jackson, who are both documentary filmmakers, who both produced two documentaries about the startup regions and entrepreneurs locally. We're doing this just in time for TIFF, since there's one of the films is about to launch soon in October, and another one is in the works, and they both have crowdfunding campaigns, two different stories, both very interesting. So our first guest today is David Chan, who's the director of Day Job Doc. Day Job Doc is a film that follows the grueling process of three startup companies in Toronto's extreme startup accelerator. So the film explores real-life stories of these entrepreneurs as they build their idea into a startup company, each facing their own set of unique challenges over the intense 12-week program. So Extreme Startups is a fairly new accelerator based in downtown Toronto. They accept a couple of different startups and entrepreneurs at a time. So it's a 12-week program, very intense. So Day Job Doc follows these startups throughout the process. And the other guest we have here is Taylor Jackson, whose film is Startup Community. It's in the works right now. So Startup Community is a film about what makes the Waterloo region different from others in the tech community. The filmmakers talk to local entrepreneurs about finding out how their region made them succeed in a way that no other place could have. These are people that have helped local nonprofits make their first 10,000, built multi-million-dollar businesses from their parents' basements, as well as people behind the 60 million YouTube videos, or 60 million hits on the YouTube videos. So this is about all about the Waterloo region, which many of you may know as a very hotbed locally for a lot of tech startups, entrepreneurs. The film really looks at what makes them different and how the community shaped a lot of, I guess, how this whole startup ecosystem came to be. So if you guys could, I just want to find a little bit of maybe a bio about you guys. So David, maybe we'll start with you. What's your background? Are you an entrepreneur, a filmmaker, both, or?
My educational background, I studied engineering in school. Didn't study film. Film was always kind of a hobby, or I guess, well, more than a hobby. It was more of a serious interest. Entrepreneurship was always an interest as well. And eventually I just found the way to marry the two in my brain, and lo and behold, we have a production company, and we got kind of involved with Extreme Startups at one point last year, and then I suppose one thing led to another, and we jumped right into the deep end and decided we wanted to capture, everything that we saw around us, all the different entrepreneurs and all the crazy hectic lives they live. We thought it was, a really powerful piece, and there was definitely a story to tell there. So that's kind of how we came into be word Day Job.
And Taylor, what's your story behind Startup Community and your background?
My background, basically, I kind of started as just a photographer, taking pictures of my friends' bands and really budget clubs around here. And then those friends kind of grew up and started getting married, so I started doing wedding photography, and then that kind of led into wedding video and just let me spend basically like 6 years behind a camera. And you learn a heck of a lot when you're shooting like 20 hours a week. So that's kind of where that led. And then I guess history is kind of repeating itself, where I started shooting music because I wanted to make my friends look cool and I wanted to put them in magazines. And now I'm kind of doing this documentary with some friends and some new friends and some people that I never thought that I'd have the opportunity to talk to. And that's kind of where I'm at for this. So it's been a fun process. It's crazy how much, I guess the film's kind of about how the community can help us kind of succeed, and the community's like really gotten behind this. So it's really cool.
Okay. And David?
Our idea for the film kind of, I don't know, just happened as it rolled along. We were involved with Extreme Startups, and we were just kind of filming them to see where it goes. It wasn't until partway through that we kind of picked what we truly wanted to film, right? So at the time, we were still hashing out our idea. So we already, I think, some learning curves were that we started filming before we even had our idea, but partway through, we sat down and we thought about, what is it that we see and what do we want to tell? And we what we saw was, a lot of dedicated, hardworking entrepreneurs, and these are guys, quit their jobs to kind of chase a dream and chase a goal, and they just go through so many different things that I think it was very admirable to kind of video or record, sorry, not videotape, record on film, so to speak, just so we could tell their story, right? Like there's all these, investors or entrepreneurs or business people or tech startups in Toronto, and I think it's a very positive thing, but these people all live very, very tumultuous roller coaster lives, and I thought that was definitely an interesting thing to capture.
So I'm interested in hearing about a little bit about the crowdfunding campaigns and when you guys decided to do that. Was that always an idea from the beginning of the project, or did that come about later? And yeah, what's the story with that?
I guess I'll go first. Basically, like we're making kind of a positive project for the community, so we knew that there'd be some money to help us make it happen. So crowdfunding wasn't immediately what we thought of, I guess. We wanted to go to the cities, we wanted to go to the universities, but then just for general exposure, we thought we'd just kind of run an Indiegogo campaign and just kind of be like, hey, if anybody wants to help out, anybody wants to see like a rough cut of the movie or get your name in the credits as a thank you, yeah, we're going to make that opportunity available. And then I guess, so it was never an intention. We never thought we'd make our goal. We just kind of put an arbitrary number up there to be like, hey, it'd be awesome if we raised this. And then I don't know, we've hit it, and now we can just make the movie so much better than we initially anticipated. But I guess it kind of goes back to that initial purpose that when you do something in this community here, everybody kind of gets behind you.
Yeah.
And as long as you're passionate about what you're doing, that really, really shows. And I thank basically the entire community for, one, helping fund this, and two, putting an insane amount of pressure on me to actually do something much bigger than we initially anticipated.
Yeah, just to highlight, so Taylor's campaign ran for how long on Indiegogo? Was it a month or?
It's still up. We put it up for 60 days because I didn't necessarily know what I was doing, so I ran a 60-day campaign.
Yeah.
And then we were aiming to raise 10,000. Like 10,000 is enough that we could, basically it was marketing dollars. That we had enough. I have all the gear that I need to make the movie. It was just that I didn't want to be spending out of pocket to get PR and to try to put this in as many places as possible. So after 60 hours, we managed to hit our goal, and it's grown steadily kind of over the past couple months, and we're up to $17,000, and we still have a few days left on the campaign, and it's really gone beyond our wildest expectations.
You're almost doubling your goal there, which is pretty awesome. Did you guys have any stretch goals in terms of if you hit over your budget, are you going to be spending the extra dollars towards what kind of things did you sort of allot for what the extra funds could go towards, or is that just more marketing and more for giveaways?
I think extra funds are going to go towards a lot of stuff that we didn't even think that we could have in the initial movie, like just a nice custom soundtrack. To be able to hire somebody to actually do music for the film is just something that we never thought of, because we were like, okay, there's no way that we're going to be able to afford this. So things like that, and actually hiring. We have an editor. He worked as the assistant editor on Watermark, which is the new, I guess, the follow-up to Manufactured Landscapes, which is premiering at TIFF. I believe it's premiering. It's at TIFF coming up, and it's really cool to have somebody that's worked on such like a grand scale of a project, and to kind of bring them back here to our little small community and help with something here, which, I don't know, it's really cool.
Yeah. Did you find that a lot of the contributors for your campaign were people that were involved in the movie or that are profiled in there somehow? Or just sort of people word of mouth? Or
I'd say the big contributors are people that kind of are those industry, the people that when you ask around like, oh, so who really supports the community here? It's most of those people that are the bigger backers on the campaign. And it was, I don't know, I didn't expect so many people on at like such actual, I don't know, large amounts of money to really help us. But we're just so thrilled that they were able to, and that they're so passionate about the community, and they just, the thing that we keep hearing kind of from everyone is that we have to make this really good. And it's the right amount of pressure, I think, to put on us, because realistically, like, if we do a poor job of this, like, it kind of does a disservice to the community and what we're trying to do. So it's nice to have some crowdfunding funds to help us out to make this even better.
Yeah, and you mentioned another point about the crowdfunding. It's a great marketing tool. Like, whether you reach your target or not, it's just a free kind of infomercial to get your name out there.
For us, it kind of came about partway through, I'd say about halfway into the production, that we thought about, a little bit what Taylor talked about. Was part of it was for exposure, part of it was if we had the money, it would have been nice, or would have added to a couple of things, but it wasn't a gigantic necessity. I mean, at the time, maybe we thought everything was a necessity, because making a film, I'm sure Taylor knows what I'm talking about. Making a film is quite the endeavor, especially if you're a first-time or even second-time filmmaker. It's a little bit kind of tumultuous and hectic, but for us, it was half exposure and half needing some funds, but in the end, we never actually reached our goal. I think for various reasons, and for better or for worse, we survived it. We got to this point, and I don't think I'd have it any other way at this point, because we've kind of made it. We finished. The huge pat on the back was we finished, and we've made a film, and we have a very, very strong marketing team now that's helping the last half. Or not even, sorry, the last half, but the pushing out the film to its, for screening and all of that stuff.
Okay. And what was your goal for the campaign? Like, what was your timeline and your goals?
Oh man, I might have to go look that up. So don't quote me on this. I think we did 40 days. I don't remember. It was like a really late night when I had finally submitted it on Indiegogo. But we could kind of like. Some of my team did a number of, not a number, but a bit of.
It's also a way to just kind of get a story out there, because if I was to put up the website for the film, like, yeah, maybe somebody might cover it, but if you put up a crowdfunding campaign at something, it's like a positive story that everybody kind of feels like they can get behind. And if, like, for instance, the first day, we basically stayed up until 5 a.m. just emailing every single media outlet we could possibly think of. We're just like, hey, we're doing this. Any help would be appreciated. Let me know if you want to talk. And before anyone else picked it up, we ended up on TechCrunch at like 11 a.m. The Monday morning. And we didn't even email anyone from TechCrunch because it was so far beyond what we expected.
Yeah.
But things like that, we kind of gave them that story that they could get behind early on and just kind of tell it. And then that's kind of I think that's the lucky / key point that propelled us first day to just kind of explode a little bit.
Yeah, I think I read the article the next few days later on Tech Vibes, so that was it just kind of snowballed. Yeah. And David, how about you guys? Did you guys think about crowdfunding since the very beginning, or how did that?
We're looking to actually go on to Kickstarter at first, but a year ago it was a lot more difficult to be on Kickstarter as a Canadian than it is right now, and so we were kind of aiming for that, and things didn't necessarily pan out for us. So we did go with Indiegogo, and I think we did our due diligence in thinking, what made these, certain campaigns successful and what didn't. We try to emulate, what those people did, but I guess to no avail on our part. We didn't necessarily get the same traction or the same exposure we wanted. Our goal was around about 20,000, and we were looking to add a whole number of things to the film, and that's not to say that we didn't add it. But it might have changed what we've done. It might not have. I don't know. I can't say that for sure. But the way things worked out, it still worked its way around.
Yeah, and it's a learning process either way. I mean, I think just it's hard to say what campaigns will explode and which ones people resonate with. But you did get to successfully raise some of your goal, and you got to keep the funds raised.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. And then, but your movie is coming out soon, I believe, right? In October. Yeah. Okay, so you're nearing the end of production.
No, we're done. Our post-production is completely done as of last week. It took a lot longer than we thought it was, a lot more like sleepless nights, but it is done. Pretty satisfied with the outcome, and our premiere is actually on the 8th.
Okay. Do you think maybe because your film, I mean, it was more focused on 3 particular startups rather than the community, maybe there was different kind of interest for the campaign as opposed to, say, Taylor's, it was like a small community, people could get on board easily. Do you think that maybe had something to do with it?
I think probably for sure it did, but I think a number of things were not working against us, but just not working for us. We didn't necessarily get the right attention we needed off the bat. And so I feel like, well, not I feel like, but the research we kind of looked at is, the initial spike of your campaign is generally kind of the tipping point, I think, right? You got to build the excitement, you got to get attention. We worked hard to get it, but I don't think necessarily anyone noticed, or I suppose gave us the time of the day. It is a bit of a cautionary tale, like you said, right? Like, there are more campaigns obviously that don't succeed.
But do you think if you could do it again, what are some of the lessons that you learned from this campaign? It was a great trial and error kind of experience.
For us at the time, I think it was just because we were so wrapped up in so many different things that we didn't have all the attention to focus on, properly introducing the Indiegogo campaign and properly kind of fleshing out different kind of things to help push it along. So we were too busy kind of wrapping our heads around so many different things. Like, we were filming, we were working on various projects to help sustain the company. In hindsight, I think what we would do in the future is to definitely bring on some marketing help, some social media help. It's not necessarily, I mean, it's a big kind of obvious. We're the filmmakers. We're not necessarily the people who can make marketing dreams happen.
And you didn't stay up the night before, I guess, emailing all the media people like Taylor.
We did email a number of them. We got a bit of attention from some people, but I guess it didn't necessarily sway them enough to donate. I don't know.
I should wrap things up just for this call. You guys are welcome to stay on and just chat with each other if you want, but for the purposes of the call, I'm just going to wrap up and say thank you very much for both being guests today. Just wanted to see if both of you had some parting words, like words of wisdom for future filmmakers or artists who are looking to crowdfund their campaign. Specifically, it could be anything, but what are some lessons that you've learned or things that you would do the same or differently next time?
I'll let Taylor go first.
I would say start big projects like this when you're young and you have not a lot of liabilities, so that if you have no income next month, that, I don't know, like worst case scenario, actually I guess one of the guys says it in the documentary, that worst case scenario, if his company failed, he has to move in with his parents. Like, that was his worst case scenario, and at 21, 22, that's not a big deal. When you get a little bit older, that becomes a little scarier to devote this much time to a project.
Advice, if you were to make, or for I guess first-time filmmakers, is definitely dream big. I think that's the goal. Kind of like, Taylor. I think Taylor's situation is one of those, right? He didn't necessarily know how far this would go, but the bigger you dream, the more real it gets. And I think know your team really well, and when you can definitely hire or try to bring on people to complement your skills, and you can cover your weaknesses, especially in film. I know people say that in tech startups, but like, for example, we brought on a really talented composer for our documentary for music, right? Because none of us can make our own music, and we didn't necessarily have the money to go buy royalties or rights to songs that we tried to fit into the film. So definitely hire for your weaknesses and dream big.
Okay. Great parting words. So a little bit about NCFA, the National Crowdfunding Association of Canada. So we're a grassroots nonprofit formed to fill a national need in the marketplace. So we represent anything crowdfunding related, even crowdsourcing. We work with industry groups, government, academia, businesses, organizations, and affiliates such as you guys, as Taylor and David, to talk about crowdfunding, create a strong and vibrant voice in Canada, and really be the education hub, the source of networking, just get the dialogue going, because crowdfunding is a new and sort of disruptive way for people to finance their projects. And as you said, for entrepreneurs or artists alike, you can dream big, and it allows you to fulfill things that you might not have thought before. So I think it's really cool what you guys are doing, and looking forward to the premiere of both your movies. And if you want to check out more about either of their films, Day Job Doc is just dayjobdoc.com. Yep. And then Startup Community, I believe that website is on Taylor's. Is it startupcommunity.com?
Startupcommunityfilm.com.
Oh, Startup Community Film. Okay, we'll have all of these links also sent out. So thank you again, and we'll look forward to chatting you again soon. Okay, bye.